Now from wealth war to Mangal Sutra to inheritance tax and now Muslim quota, BJP is continuing its attacks on the Congress from left, right and centre. A day after Congress chief Mallikarjun Kharge wrote an open letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi seeking to highlight the Congress's manifesto's true facts, the BJP has found fresh ammunition with former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's video from 2009. BJP has severely criticized Congress over this video where Manmohan Singh is heard backing his stand on minorities, particularly poor Muslims, having the first right to India's resources. The BJP further stated that Manmohan Singh's past remarks bolster its claims that Congress has a history and a policy of giving preferential treatment to Muslim community. But the Congress has categorically denied this claim, stating that BJP's remarks are nothing but communal politics. Now, this is not the first time that Congress is facing this charge. Rahul Gandhi had once famously claimed Congress is a party for Muslims. Throughout our independent history, we've had calls after calls, subtle or overt political decisions that have given India a unique version of secularism. Warped secularism, as some call it. From Ram Mandir not getting resolved to our history books, you see signs of this everywhere. Whether it was born out of a need to protect India's Muslim minorities post-partition, or to ensure Hindu majoritarianism, as some call it, doesn't take over, or for plain vote bank. The reasons are irrelevant. What matters is whether Congress truly has kept Muslims above others. Post-2014 defeat, mind you, its own leader A.K. Antony had said people fear if Congress can deliver social justice given its proximity to some communities. So, is the BJP's charge of Muslim appeasement against Congress valid? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. First up, let's see how election phase 2 began today with a subcharged BJP attacking Congress over Manmohan Singh's past video. This is the one from 2009 that they posted online to hammer their point. Now, Manmohan Singh is heard in the video saying that if Muslims are poor, then they have prior claim to resources, priority claim to India's resources. He's further heard that he spoke earlier in 2006 of all minorities but added Muslim minorities, and he goes on to say that I stand by my statement, because he was essentially referring to his 2006 statement, which was on record too. Now, this video is also on record, and of course, at least so far, the Congress hasn't denied the video or the contents of the video, even if they deny the charge against it. Let's also take you through some of the actions that were taken in the past by Congress governments, politicians, leaders that have invited over the years, over the decades, a charge of Muslim appeasement. And I'm talking about various governments that have been helped by various Congress prime ministers and others in the past. So one of those examples is actually the Waqf Act that first came into being in 1954 under Jawaharlal Nehru and was amended in 1995 under Congress rule. Now, the Waqf Board has been given almost unlimited powers as far as this act is concerned, and there's no parallel of such an act for any other religious community. Waqf boards can today effectively deem any land as Waqf if they feel they have enough cause. The famous case of Shabano from 1985, the elderly divorced woman who was seeking maintenance. This challenged the hegemony of Muslim clerics and Muslim personal law diktats. But Rajiv Gandhi, Congress Prime Minister, nullified the Supreme Court judgment in this case that supported her claim to a monthly maintenance. Why was this done? We all know. In 2008, Patla House operation was carried out to arrest Indian Mujahideen terrorists. Terrorists, mind you. Congress leaders jumped onto the bandwagon soon after and called this encounter fake, in which one of our police officers was martyred, and actually some terrorists were also arrested live. Salman Khurshid famously had said Sonia Gandhi had cried bitterly over the images of this encounter. One wonders why Congress had to do any of this if it did not keep one community above the other. So the big debate that's coming up with this new Manmohan Singh video also out, is it now fair to say that the Muslim appeasement charge sticks on the Congress?
are poor, they have prior claim on the resources of the nation.
इन्होंने यहां तक झूठ फैलाया कि अभी डॉक्टर मनमोहन जी ने ऐसा कहा ही नहीं था। एक और पुराना वीडियो सामने आया है जिसमें फिर से वो वही कह रहे हैं कि देश के संसाधनों पर पहला हक मुसलमानों का है।
कांग्रेस और इंडी गठबंधन का हिडन एजेंडा, छुपा हुआ एजेंडा है कि एससी, एसटी और ओबीसी का हक छीन कर मुस्लिमों को दे।
We never done an appeasement politics.
घोषणा पत्र में पर्सनल लॉ को हम आगे बढ़ाएंगे, ये बात की।
The BJP is taking out one phrase or one sentence and trying to make a controversy about it.
Rajiv Pandey, spokesperson of the BJP, Avni Bansal of the Congress Party joining us. In the studio with me is also Nalin Mehta, managing editor, Money Control, and I will also be joined by Javed Ansari, senior journalist who tracks the Congress Party very, very closely. Let me begin with Avni Bansal. Avni Bansal, now we have a video dug out by the BJP where the former Congress Prime Minister is heard very clearly saying that yes, I talked about minorities and I added Muslim minorities, I added poor Muslims, and yes, they have the first right to India's resources. How do you justify that stand?
Thank you for that question. See, where we stand in India today, the statistics are very clear. 21 billionaires have the same amount of wealth as 70 crore Indians. Congress's stand is simply contrast from the BJP, where on the one hand, BJP is working for a few people, for a particular section of people, whereas Congress and the India Alliance stands for all. Now, when we take this to the next level and ask, what does this all mean? The question is very simple. Our manifesto is a clear example that we are talking about welfare politics. And what welfare politics means is that we are against the fact that BJP has constantly reduced the corporate tax on the one hand, but increased income tax on the other.
One second.
Now, your question about Muslim appeasement. I'm coming to your question about the
one
Muslims.
second. I'm not even talking
Yes.
about a time when Narendra Modi has had 2 consecutive terms. This is from 2006 and 2009, right? So explain to me why between 2006 and why between 2006 and 2009 Manmohan Singh as the Prime Minister of the country was particularly mentioning one community and a religious minority, even though religious quotas and reservations are not allowed in the country. Why was he deliberately mentioning one religious community alone and justifying them having first right to India's resources?
This election cycle or the previous election cycle. I'm trying to explain what has been the stand of the Congress party. And it has been in line with the Constitution of India, which specially says it is the BJP which has made it about Hindu versus Muslims. Congress's stand has been always very clear. Be that
but if the Congress one second. I'm sorry. Congress must one second. Avni, I gave you time. I gave you time. You're talking about your manifesto in this election when I'm asking you about Manmohan Singh from 2009. I'm going to give you time, but please. No, 1 second. I must reiterate my question. When you say the Congress must take some responsibility of the kind of rhetoric it has piled on India. It cannot say that Hindu-Muslim is done by BJP alone when the Congress Prime Minister is repeatedly naming only one religious minority. Muslim minorities, then how can you say that?
If you allow me, if you give me 2 minutes, I'll explain
Not
that
2 minutes, I'll give you a minute.
You have to give me at least 2 minutes if this has to be a substantive debate.
Otherwise, whatever you can say in 1 minute, you can say in 2 minutes.
Remark, if you can't give me 2 minutes.
I gave you enough time already, Avni. I gave you enough time already.
Allow me 2 minutes to make my substantive
Not 2 minutes, 1 minute. Please don't waste your time now.
The Constitution of India provides specifically that religious minorities in India have a stake. What the Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh said is that anybody who is poor will have a first right to resources.
Particularly
now, amongst
Muslim
the
poor.
community. Amongst the poor community, it is a fact of the matter that Muslims are the largest minority in India. So when the Constitution of India talks about religious minority, when we are designing a policy and if we're talking about the minorities and we're talking about the poor, SCs are poor in India, STs are poor in India, OBCs are poor in India. We also have certain castes within Hinduism poor. So, for example, when we design policies and people belonging to the Dalit world will get a priority right, that's not a question about the caste or the religious divide. That is exactly what the Constitution of India provides. So, picking out one statement out of context and again making it Hindu-Muslim is the way that the BJP wants to go.
Okay.
All this while the entire Mangal Sutra argument by the Prime Minister is not being debated about.
No,
He's
we have
completely
debated
lying,
about
saying
this.
women's Mangal Sutra will be taken away.
Avani,
and
we've
distributed to
debated
Muslims.
about this.
What
I
is
don't know
that
where
level
you
of
were,
exaggeration?
but we've debated about this since that comment
What
was
is
made
that
4
level of
days.
exaggeration?
Yeah, so I'll come
the
to that.
game is
I'll
clear.
come to that. But please focus on the question I'm raising today.
So-
If there are these videos where the Prime Minister of the past himself is talking about naming one particular religious minority again
He's
and again.
clearly saying-
One second,
he's
Avni.
clearly
One second,
saying
Avni.
that I am
Don't
for
speak
all
over me.
minorities in India.
Yes,
He's
particularly
clearly saying,
Muslim
I am
minorities.
for all minorities because Muslims are the largest minority in India. You
Religious
tell me what is the
minorities,
figure.
no
You tell
reservations
me-
or quotas
you tell
in
me.
India are
It's
meant
not
to
a
be
question
for
of
religious
reservation.
minorities.
It's a question of what are
Religious
the
minorities
constitutional
have been
provisions
purposefully
for
kept
giving
away
special
from the
treatment
purview
to
of
minorities.
quotas and
Minorities
reservations for a
also
reason.
include religious minorities.
No,
And
they
it
have
is a
been
fact
kept
that
away
Muslims
from
are
the
largest
purview
religious
of
minority in
quotas
India.
and reservations for a
Muslims on the
reason.
one hand, Muslims on the one hand are 26% in India.
Yeah.
The Sikhs, the Buddhists, the Christians are far lesser in numbers.
Yes, but you don't talk about
obviously,
them.
When he's saying particular, no, he's saying all minorities.
But
He's
the
clearly
largest
saying
minority, which
you
is
asked the
Muslims.
question. You asked the question, particularly Muslims. Why? I'm saying particularly because it's a fact that Muslims are the largest minorities in number. You
Yeah,
can't
the
take it
largest
away as
minority
much as
which you
people
are
like.
quoting as 26%. They get a mention repeatedly, but the Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Christians
When we
don't get a
listen,
mention.
We have to look at the context. in
What is
which
the context?
statement
Okay, now
was
you come
made.
to the question. What is the
context
context?
was very clear. The context was very clear. When we are designing policies and we are talking about distribution of resources, the poor will get the first right.
The
who
Muslim
are the
poor will
in
have
India?
the first
Look
right.
at those facts.
Not the
There
Christian
are
poor,
reports to say-
not the Hindu
there are
poor,
reports
not
to
the
say
Buddhist poor,
that all-
not the
all
Jain poor.
minorities,
He
all
didn't say that.
minorities.
He didn't say that. Okay, I want to come in.
He said exactly all minorities.
Avni,
That's
one
on
second.
that's on
Now
your
just pull
panel.
back for 1 second,
You
please.
asked me particularly why, and I said Muslims because they're the largest religious minority. We can draw it out of context and we can paint whatever.
It's not
picture we
out of
like, but the
context
fact
at all.
remains
In fact,
that
the point
Muslims
that
are
you're
the
making,
largest
just lower her
minority in
fader,
India.
please. In fact, the point that you're making that this is the largest religious minority and yet finds a special mention, but the more minute minorities don't get a mention is exactly the question that the Congress faces. Also, the point I want to mention is quotas for religious minorities are not allowed in India. That is exactly the question that is being asked of the Congress party. On what basis are religious quotas carved out? I want to bring in Rajiv Pandey of the BJP as well. Rajiv Pandey, as far as the quota debate is concerned, in Karnataka, the government is saying we've not brought it. You're using that to make this attack on the Congress party, but they haven't promised quota in their manifesto. The Karnataka government hasn't done anything overnight to bring in a quota for Muslims. Then what is this controversy about?
Shivani ji, first you have to understand one thing. Congress spokesperson is saying Muslims are 26%. So they do a scam in everything, even in the population also they are making a scam. As per the 2011 last census, it is around 14%. Maybe they are producing more babies. So they may be now 16%, not 26%. Let me correct that. Second point, who has done chedchar with the constitution on these points? Baba Sahib Ambedkar deliberately did not provide any reservation on the basis of religion. It is given to SC, ST, my poor brothers, and then after Mandal Commission, OBC was brought into this reservation fold. Congress deliberately is trying to take out reservation from OBC, SC, ST and minorities, especially Muslims. If you see, I can tell you two specific circumstances. Madam, don't do this dancing here. When you were speaking, I didn't do anything. What is this? What is this dancing you are doing?
I am
When you spoke, I didn't word use single word. You don't have any sense
How can you say
or
that?
to
I'm
debate.
not interrupting you.
Why I'm saying
No, you can't make
when
statements like
Shivani,
dancing.
I
I
did
am
not
saying what you're saying is
allow me to
false.
complete my point.
So you
No,
complete
in
your point
2000
now.
Dancing.
In 2004,
I'm
in
saying false. I can say that.
2004,
I'm not
in
dancing
2004, Jamia Millia Islamia, reservation of SC, STs were removed and Muslims were brought at that place. In Aligarh Muslim University, again in 1987, this was done. Again, in 2004 to 2014, several times this Congress government tried that. And what they are saying is that government has not done anything on the constitutional issues. When Sahabano case took place, Supreme Court passed judgment in favor of Sahabano, an old lady. Congress party amended the constitution to just take away the right of a Muslim woman, and they are talking about constitution.
Okay. No,
they
but
are
can
the
I just
first
come
who
in?
suspended constitution.
No, Rajiv Pandey,
And now-
can I just come in? 1 second. Just like the BJP is saying that the Congress is levelling false charges on it, that they will change the constitution or do away with the constitution, which the Congress is doing in this campaigning. The Congress also has a point that nowhere in their manifesto have they promised any quotas for Muslims. Nowhere have they
can
said
tell you.
anything
I will tell
about
you.
wealth
Let me-
distribution, for example,
Just 30
taking from
seconds,
some
30 seconds.
and giving to some.
30 seconds.
1 second.
30
And
seconds.
in Karnataka, I reiterate, in Karnataka, no overnight decision on Muslim quota has been taken. That Muslim quota has existed even when your government was there. So
Now,
are you
Veerappa
also
Moily-
not playing fast and loose with the facts?
Shivani ji, first Veerappa Moily brought this Muslim reservation in Karnataka. I am saying on that point. Second point you are saying is that Congress has not stated or that they will give reservation to the Muslims. What is there? You have to see, this is called harmonious construction. As a lawyer, we do it in 3-4 documents. I will tell you, document number 1 is the manifesto. Document number 2 is the statement of Rahul Gandhi, which says that we will do some research and then we will distribute the assets as per the population. Now we very well know, you should see the TFR. Whose TFR is what? Then from outside also Congress party is importing voters from infiltrators to all these things. So what I am saying, on the basis of what Honorable Prime Minister has said, the people who are producing more kids, a particular community, and you are, that is one aspect. And second, you are trying to bring those people in SC/ST reservation, those people in OBC reservation. Then who will get it? Who are wealth creators?
Okay.
Who? That's the main point. 3 documents you will have to see, ma'am. 1, Rahul Gandhi's statement. Second, the manifesto.
All right, one
and
second.
Third, what's last line? Third, the statement of Manmohan Singh, which categorically stated that Muslims have first right over the national resources of this country. If you would see these 3 things.
He has said,
Yes.
to be fair, he has said amongst minorities,
Of course.
poor Muslims
What I'm saying-
have the
What
first
is poor?
right to India's
Baba-
resources. Javed
Congress
Ansari is also
party
joining us.
Abusing Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Congress party is abusing Baba Saheb Ambedkar's constitution. They have no right to do this.
Okay.
Otherwise,
No,
our
as far
father-
as religious quota on the
No,
basis of
that should be
religious,
a
1
point.
second, Rajiv, 1 second. As far as quota on for religious minorities is concerned, nobody can deny that this was debated at the time when the constitution was framed, and it was kept out for a reason. Minority representation and taking care of minority stake does not mean you carve out special categories for them, and this is precisely why the Congress faces the charge of appeasement. And I'm not the only one saying it, Nalin. In 2014, A.K. Antony said it, that there is a perception in the mind of the voters that we take care of one section more than others, which is why the public wonders whether we can produce social justice. And this is exactly the kind of quote-unquote secularism that has come under question in India, a secularism espoused by multiple Congress governments, where a minority is kept above even the feelings of the majority just because of numbers.
So this, I think, has been a primary cleavage of secularism versus secular versus communal politics since the 80s, and this is exactly what L.K. Advani first called pseudo-secularism.
Yes.
This goes back to that debate. And if you see from 2014 onwards, one of the key aspects in the political communication of the BJP has been that no tokenism. that while there will be sabka saath sabka vikas, that don't privilege one group over the other. You will see this in what Yogi Adityanath often says. You will see this in the politics over iftar parties, which BJP ministers stopped attending in the way that used to happen earlier. So, and the Karnataka debate is fundamentally, while it is specifically about the legality of the quotas and whether there were Muslims who made OBCs or not, and how, and it went back to Devi Gowda, of course, it's won for several years. But what the PM is essentially alluding to is whether minorities should be given preferential treatment or not. And it goes back to that old debate about secularism.
Yeah, and whether religious minorities should be given preferential treatment or not.
No, absolutely. I meant religious minorities.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, it is about that whether one group is considered more favorite than others.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that is a central cleavage, just as caste and class are other cleavages in society or in the election. This is also a cleavage, and I think the
And do you
BJP
feel
position
the
is very clear.
BJP's messaging is for a particular reason, is being timed to perfection, is also resonating? Anything that tells us any of that?
So for the last 5 or 6 days since when he first raised this issue, I think the BJP has doubled down. I think the PM has doubled down on this.
Yeah.
He's constantly been talking about this. The BJP has it wasn't a trial balloon. It's a concerted strategy. And today the second Manmohan Singh video which has been put out, the Prime Minister in the 2 rallies in Rajasthan, that's where it started from, right? Now it's gone forward. So I think this is something that the BJP believes is paying some dividend on the ground. I think that's what the ground intelligence is telling them. So they are going ahead with this.
Okay. Javed Ansari is also with us. Javed Ansari, can the Congress truly say that, we have always played fair, we have never done any, calculations on the basis of religious vote banks, and if at all, we've always been purely secular in the truest form of the word, given that its history is telling us otherwise? It has also played to a certain vote bank. It has also played to a certain, gallery. You can look at Rajiv Gandhi's Shabano decision to Manmohan Singh's, particularly mentioning Muslim minorities, and, it opens itself to that attack.
Shivani, so why just the Congress party? Almost all political parties are guilty of it. Some go in for minority appeasement, others go in for minority victimization, others go in for majority appeasement. So let's not beat about the bush.
No, I'm asking you this because Congress's central pillar is that we are secular. Are they truly?
They are largely secular. They are secular, but everybody goes in for vote bank politics. Why do you think the Prime Minister is doing all this? On the one hand, in an interview, he says, कि जब मैं मुख्यमंत्री था 27 Muslim castes were beneficiaries under the reservation issue. So if it is such a big sin to give Muslims reservation, then why did it continue under his regime? ये ऐसा नहीं हो सकता ना कि हम करें तो पुण्य, दूसरा करे तो पाप. Everybody is to some degree guilty of this.
Rajiv, you want to respond to that? Your governments have perpetuated these reservations too?
Sir, I say that Javed, I have a very high regard for Javed Ansari Sahab. Sir has said that BJP has also done some, victimization of. I say BJP's all policy under the rule of, under Modi Sarkar, last 10 years, in all the policies, minorities are the biggest beneficiaries, sir. Don't say this, whether it is house, whether it is sanitation, whether it is all these things. You go into the village and you will find it.
No, he's talking about the dog whistling. No, he's not talking about just the schemes. No, let's face it. There are enough and more statements from BJP leaders, and many can contend even the Prime Minister's statement is working to other an entire community.
Then the second point is that how BJP allowed this to continue.
Yes.
After the report, Congress brought this and tried to do this. BJP has stopped that process, but you are right. Many people are demanding even reversal of that. And if people decide tomorrow and put pressure on the government, people will have to reverse that process. BJP has not furthered all these things. Congress tried to put Muslims in SC/ST reservations. BJP did not allow it to happen. Am I right or wrong? In Jamia Millia Islamia and Aligarh Muslim University, SC/ST quota were taken off and Muslims were given out of that quota. Am I right or wrong? Go and ask him. That petition is also going on before Honorable Supreme Court of India. BJP has not furthered whatever was happening, that many people are opposing. Even the Sachar Commission recommendations out of 75, 72 is accepted. Everything should be seen, because Indian Constitution has not given power to any political leader to make any kind of these kind of policy on the basis of religion.
Okay, one
affirmative
second.
action can be taken. One last line. Affirmative action can be taken on the basis of discrimination, not on the basis of religion. And what Congress is doing the same, they are trying to do this.
No,
That's
the
my
thing
point,
is,
Madam.
the thing is that these reservations were meant to be socio-economic and a certain level of backwardness because of history. Clearly, at the time when the constitution was drafted, Muslims were not considered to be historically backward in India, and obviously there is history attached to that. But I am not contending that that can never change. If reality on ground today is different, we can always do a rethink. But has this been used to appease a certain section more than actually take care of them is the question. And Avani, I come back to you. You look at how much Congress champions the cause of backward Muslims or poor Muslims. But the charge that Muslims themselves pose to the Congress is that, what have you done for us? You've used them for appeasement and vote bank decade after decade. Why aren't Muslims doing better since you've been in power for 55 plus years?
Let me just first make a correction. When the BJP spokesperson said, when I was saying that in any given, the maximum, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Your video seems to have rotated. Yes, it's
Can
back.
you hear me
Go
now?
ahead. Yes.
I'm saying first the correction. What I was saying is that in any state in India, the maximum percentage of Muslims as a minority is 6%. So while we have 14% Muslims in India overall, we have Kerala, which is a maximum, where the maximum number of Muslims in any given state is 26%. So I stand
No,
corrected.
Rajiv, Rajiv, let her finish.
Not kind of, misinform us on that. Number one. Number two, let me ask this question to the BJP spokesperson. Can the BJP spokesperson say on this TV that they're equally for the Muslims, that they're equally for all the minorities like they're for Hindus? Do they actually believe in secularism? And it's not a question of giving a rhetorical answer. Yes, if you actually look closely at entire BJP politics, all the issues that they've picked up are religious centric. Even today, they're not willing to answer the other aspects of our manifesto, including, for example, why aren't you talking about unemployment? Why aren't you talking about inequality? Why aren't you talking about price rise? They talk about the mandir. They talk about Article 370. They talk about triple talaq. Each of their issues are actually issues which, in a way,
No, that's
pitch the
not true.
Hindus and the Muslims
No,
against
you're
each
also
other.
picking. I'm
Point
sorry.
is-
That's not true.
One second,
No,
one
that's
second.
not true
Let
at
me
all.
answer.
We've discussed
If you look
economic
at Article
policies over the
26
last
and
1 week.
27,
No, Avani, come to my
if you look
question.
at-
Avani, I have
let me
limited
complete
time. Come to my
the
question. What is it that the Congress has done for Muslims that, apart from appeasing them decade after decade?
Congress was in power for almost 70 years. If we didn't do everything for everybody, in spite of just saying Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, if we didn't actually do it, we wouldn't have been in power for that longer time. And secondly, Article 26, 27, Shivani clearly say that there are special protections given in India to religious minorities. Just that, you can't extend it, you can't limit it. There are certain provisions where all religious minorities in India are given a certain protection. That's done by the Indian Constitution. So
Yes, the
unless BJP is
Constitution
planning to
also
change
talks about,
that,
one
citing
second,
it out of context
you know,
and making it Muslim
Constitution is
appeasement
quoted,
absolutely
I must say, it's the most selectively quoted document. I know it's extensive, but the Constitution also talks about UCC. The Constitution also talks about UCC. Why doesn't the Congress party support UCC? The Constitution also talks about cow protection. Why is the Congress so wary about cow protection in India?
Question about UCC, Shivani. What the Congress has always said is, show us the draft. UCC is actually there in the Indian Constitution. Nobody is denying UCC all in total. What we are saying is, who's drafting this UCC? Does it have representation of all the
So you were in power, as you
Constitution
said.
of India provides.
You were in power, as you said, for 70 years.
26 and
No, 1
27.
second. You were in power for 70 years, as you said. Why did you not bring UCC? Why is it that
Because
leader
we
after
say-
leader
because
said
we
no,
say-
we cannot
because
have
we say
UCC
it
in
is an
India?
exercise-
Even today,
because we think
Congress
it is an
leaders
exercise
say
which can be
UCC
done.
cannot be a reality in India. Why?
No, the thing is, whether UCC is on a top priority or not, whether we actually think that first giving poor people a certain share in the welfare of this country, that to us is priority. Meddling with the personal laws of different religious communities was not a priority. There are 100 other things that the constitution provides.
Yeah, but Hindu
the
Act,
BJP
Hindu
is only a
laws
question
could
of
be
religion.
coded. Hindu laws could be coded post-independence. That was your
Hindu
priority.
laws, no, one second. Hindu laws were coded right after independence because we didn't have a code. And
Yeah.
this was a debate even then.
So what
But
about the Muslim
minority,
code?
They had their laws. They are willing to be governed by their laws. What is the problem?
No,
The
this is
problematic
precisely the
aspects, for
problem,
example,
Avani. This is
for
precisely the
example,
problem. You
let's
cannot
look at-
say
let's look at
post-independence
what-
our priority was coding Hindu
You
laws,
have on your
but we
TV
don't
debate-
care about personal laws of other communities,
You
particularly
have
the
on your
Muslims.
TV debate
Because we had other
collectively
priorities.
several
You didn't answer my question.
about
What
Section 125
the Congress,
of the
Nalin,
RCC?
faces the charge that while you use Muslims at vote
Shivani,
banks,
can you give
and
me just
Muslim
30
leaders
seconds?
themselves say this, they haven't got really the fruits of the benefits. If they are so backward that they still need to be given reservations on top of everything else, then what did you do for 60 years for them?
So, so I think for the longest time, this whole debate on secularism has essentially been about whether it is genuine secularism or not, and,
Yes.
and different people have different definitions for it. There is a sense in Indian politics now that you can be seen to be pro-Muslim, but you can't be seen to be anti-Hindu.
Anti-Hindu.
Right? So, and the moment you start talking about specific, overt prioritization over and above other groups, then that begins to look like victimization of the now you could argue that, you know, how do you victimize a large majority which is 80%?
Because it has subgroups.
Right. So, but the fact of the matter is that the reason why the BJP is able to kind of push the Congress into a corner into this always is because there's always often a gap between the Congress is saying and what it's doing on the ground. The Congress is often always also played with the hounds and also has that other things, both on religiosity, whether it's about Ayodhya and so on. For example, every major Congress leader supported the consecration of the Ram temple, but then there was a whole thing about going to
Not
the ceremony,
be seen
right?
at the event.
So the Congress ended up often falling in between two stools, because it's trying to please everybody. And because the BJP's message control is so specific, it allows it manages to push the Congress into a political corner on this often.
Is the Congress in a political corner, Javed?
Well, it often finds itself in a political corner. And I agree with my friend Naren here that the Congress, one problem with the Congress is that it wants to please everybody. The Congress has always been like that grand banyan tree under which, you know, all shades of opinion have. But on some issues, like on Babri Masjid, Ram Mandir, it really muddled its case. You know, they were the ones under whose regime the
locks were opened.
Not just locks, the idols appeared overnight. Then the locks were opened. Then Shilanyas happened. They were under the impression that they would take over this Ram movement, and rather than allow BJP to do it, and they failed miserably. Then they try and balance it with doing other things. Look, the Congress is guilty of this, and so is the BJP.
Yeah, absolutely.
One minute. Why don't we have a debate on the kind of you were saying? What has the Congress done for minorities? Whatever they may or may not have done, but certainly minorities do not feel the kind of apprehension, do not fear for their life and liberty at any time in independent India as they are doing now. That's also a stark reality. Please have a debate someday, and I will willingly.
No, I think we've been debating that for last 10 years.
No, I will comment.
The apprehensions of the minority community, I don't deny them, but we have been debating that for the last 10 years. I've run out of time today, unfortunately.
My good friend Rajiv Pandey is here, and he's talking of this. Tell me, they've been in power for 10 years. They haven't found one worthy Muslim to become an MP. They haven't even considered them worthy of a ticket, and they are concerned about their welfare. This is the kind of concern.
Rajiv, very quickly, I have 10 seconds.
What is the policy of BJP? That is justice for all, appeasement for none. As far as the tickets are concerned, Javed Bhai, it is every political party decides their candidate on the basis of winnability and other factors. And in BJP, whenever that somebody is coming to that level that they get ticket, they're elected, they're even made ministers also. Whether in UP, even Bihar also, they are ministers.
Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi was a minister in your cabinet. You booted him out unceremoniously.
Sir,
he was a member of the Rajya Sabha.
I know this, but what I'm saying, that's not the point. But I am saying, Javed bhai, only one line, that BJP, Congress has ruled this country, and after that Sachar committee report came that they are the most backward. They have reached to this finding, but what is the reason for their backwardness? Can you just see the family size of the Muslims and other communities in Buddhism or Jainism, Sikhs, Christian, Hindus? So why don't you go and tell your people?
I don't think we can reduce the backwardness of a community just to that. One second. Can I just say, my opinion on this is very clear. You cannot, use backwardness if you are unwilling to progress as a means to only get reservations. I'm absolutely opposed to that. And I think the question must be posed to some sections of society, why are they backward? But I don't want to reduce that just to one element of backwardness. It's not just economic or otherwise. There are many social issues as well. Secondly, just to answer Javed sir's point, there is one lone Muslim candidate of the BJP. Interestingly, that was fielded from a heavily Muslim dominant seat from Kerala, and Kerala is polling today. But I've run out of time. I do thank our guests for joining us. Very heated debate this. It is always a heated subject.